Ben White is on the floor at the London Stadium. He is not getting up quickly. The medical staff are already rushing onto the pitch. And every Arsenal supporter inside that ground knows exactly what this moment could mean. He eventually leaves the field wearing a knee brace. Mikel Arteta is asked about it after the final whistle. His answer is 4 words: it does not look good. That is the reality Arsenal are living in right now. Their first choice right back is injured with an unknown return date. Their backup right back, Jurrien Timber, has not played a single minute since March 14th due to a groin problem. And the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain is on May 30th, 19 days away. Paris Saint-Germain, the team with Ivica Kvaratskhelia on their left wing. One of the most dangerous attackers in world football, and he is going to run directly at whoever Arsenal put at right back on that night. This club is not in a comfortable position right now. They are fighting, they are managing, and every single decision made between today and May 30th will matter enormously. This is the full picture, and we are going through all of it right now. The Champions League final officials, Uefa, have now officially confirmed the refereeing panel for the Champions League final. The referee appointed is Daniel Siebert from Germany. His assistants are Jan Seidel and Raphael Fulton, both also from Germany. Sandro Schara from Switzerland will serve as the 4th official. Guadalupe Porras Ayuso from Spain will be the reserve assistant referee. Bastian Dankert from Germany takes charge of VAR duties. Robert Schroeder from Germany will support as assistant VAR. And Carlos del Cerro Grande from Spain will provide VAR support. Now, here is my analysis on this. The appointment of Daniel Siebert is significant. Uefa do not simply hand the biggest match in club football to any official. This is a German-led panel, which means experience and structure will be at the forefront of how this final is managed. The VAR setup is also heavily German, with Dankert and Schroeder working together. That tells you UEFA want consistency and reliability in the decision-making process on the night. For Arsenal supporters, knowing the officiating team in advance is important. This is a high-pressure environment, and the margin between a correct call and a match-changing error is tiny at this level. Arsenal versus Paris Saint-Germain is going to be an intense game. Having a clear, composed official in charge is something both clubs will quietly appreciate, whatever they say in public. Guardiola's comment about Arteta, a quote attributed to Pep Guardiola, has been circulating and it is causing quite a reaction. The quote reads as follows: "I want to say to my friend Mikel Arteta, if he wins the title, it will be just because he spent, not because he worked a lot or his players." My analysis. This is a striking comment, and I want to be measured in how I approach it. This quote is being shared widely on social media, and the context matters. Whether Guardiola intended this as genuine criticism or as a competitive remark between two managers who know each other extremely well is something worth thinking about carefully. What is undeniable is that this kind of statement creates noise at exactly the wrong time for Arsenal. With the title race alive and a Champions League final approaching, any suggestion that their achievements are purely financial rather than tactical or cultural has the potential to irritate the squad, the manager and the fan base. Arteta has consistently spoken about building something at Arsenal that goes beyond spending. He has spoken about identity, culture and a specific style of play. So for a statement like this to emerge now, regardless of the intent behind it, it lands with real weight. I will let you form your own opinion on Guardiola's motivation, but the timing is impossible to ignore. Jurgen Klopp on Arsenal, and the Premier League Jurgen Klopp posted a lengthy reflection on the current Premier League season, and it contains some fascinating observations. He acknowledged that Arsenal have done incredibly well this season, surviving what he described as a brutal period in April, where everything felt like war. He praised Arteta directly, comparing the Arsenal manager's hunger and resilience to that of Guardiola himself. He described managing in the Premier League with Guardiola alongside you as a nightmare every single week. He also confirmed that he is not returning to management in the Premier League anytime soon, dismissing rumours linking him to Real Madrid and Chelsea. He said he is happy taking his time and is recovering and watching from the outside. He also addressed Liverpool's situation, expressing some concern about the direction under the new manager, suggesting the standard is dropping. My analysis: Klopp's words about Arsenal carry real credibility. This is a man who spent years competing against them, who understands the pressures of the league at the very highest level. When he says Arteta has the same hunger and resilience as Guardiola, that is not a throwaway compliment. That is a serious assessment from one of the most respected coaches in world football. His point about the Premier League being like a drama series that always reaches its climax at the end is insightful. Arsenal have survived the hardest part. 2 games remain in the league. The question now is whether they can finish the job. Klopp believes they deserve everything they are achieving, and that matters coming from someone who has no reason to flatter them. Before we continue, if this kind of deep, structured analysis is what you are looking for on Arsenal, please hit that subscribe button right now. Melissa Arsenal Analyst exists to give you the full picture, not just headlines. Every subscriber helps this channel grow and produce more content like this. Now let us keep going. Arteta contract extension. Reports are now indicating that Mikel Arteta is closing in on a contract extension at Arsenal that would keep him at the club until 2029. If confirmed, this would take his total stay at the Emirates Stadium as manager to nearly 10 years. My analysis: this is enormous news. The fact that contract talks are reportedly this advanced and happening at this precise moment in the season tells you something very important about Arsenal's thinking. They are not waiting to see how the title race or the Champions League final ends before making this decision. They are moving now. That level of confidence in Arteta from the club's hierarchy speaks volumes. It suggests the board views him not just as the current manager, but as the architect of the next phase of Arsenal's development. Nearly 10 years as manager of a club like Arsenal would place him among the longest-serving managers in the club's modern era. The stability that creates is something money cannot easily buy. Rival clubs watching this will understand clearly that Arsenal are not in a period of transition. They are building something long-term, and Arteta is at the centre of it. David Raya's clean sheet record. Opta Analyst has published data showing that only 4 goalkeepers in Premier League history have played 50 or more games for a single club and kept a higher clean sheet percentage than David Raya at Arsenal. Raya's clean sheet percentage stands at 44.3% across 106 appearances. The goalkeepers ahead of him are Petr Cech at 48.6%, Edwin van der Sar at 48.4%, Pepe Reina at 47%, and Peter Schmeichel at 44.4%. My analysis: the names ahead of Raya on that list are among the greatest goalkeepers ever to play in this league. Cech, van der Sar, Reina, Schmeichel, these are genuinely legendary figures, and David Raya is sitting right there in 5th place after just over 100 appearances. What this data confirms is that Raya's contribution to Arsenal's defensive record is not just solid, it is historically significant. For a goalkeeper who arrived on a loan deal and then secured a permanent transfer, his impact has been remarkable. He is now reportedly a serious contender for Player of the Year recognition, and this data supports that conversation entirely. Arsenal's defensive structure is built around clean sheets and controlled defending. Raya is the last line in that system, and the numbers show he's performing at an elite level within it. The Kai Havertz deal. Details clarity is emerging around the financial structure of Arsenal's deal for Kai Havertz. The deal is confirmed to include performance-based add-ons that could push the total package higher depending on success. However, specific claims that have been circulating, including a £30 million bonus linked to winning the Champions League, and extra payments for Rooney, Madueke and Kepa tied to trophy wins, are not supported by reliable sources. The exact figures in the deal remain undisclosed. My analysis: this is an important piece of context. In the modern football media environment, unverified bonus structures get shared and repeated until they become accepted as fact. The situation here is that the performance add-ons are real, but the specific headline figures being thrown around are not backed by credible sourcing. That distinction matters. For Arsenal supporters, what you need to take from this is straightforward. Havertz's deal reflects the club's confidence in his ability to contribute at the highest level. The add-ons are tied to success, which means the club structured this in a way that aligns financial exposure with actual performance. That is smart business. The exact numbers may remain private, and that is perfectly normal for contracts at this level. The full Arsenal injury update. The injury situation at Arsenal right now is one of the most challenging the club has faced in recent memory, and the timing could not be more difficult. Ben White left the London Stadium wearing a knee brace after being forced off during the West Ham match. Mikel Arteta's response was direct and worrying. His words were that it does not look good at all. White's return date is currently unknown. Riccardo Calafiori was also forced off at half-time during the same match. Arsenal are hoping the issue is not serious. His potential return date is listed as the Burnley fixture. Jurrien Timber has now missed almost 2 months due to a groin issue. Arteta has acknowledged publicly that the recovery has taken longer than expected. His return date is also unknown. Mikel Merino had surgery on his foot 4 months ago. He has now returned to individual work on grass and is racing to be available before the season ends, with the Champions League final on May 30th identified as a target. My analysis: let's be very direct about what this means for Arsenal. They are heading into the two most important games of their season, possibly the two most important games in the club's recent history, with their first choice right back unavailable due to a knee injury of unknown severity, their backup right back fighting a groin issue that has already lasted 2 months, a key central defensive option also carrying an injury, and a key midfield presence in a long-term rehabilitation process. The right-back position is the clearest crisis point. With White and Timber both out, the options available to Arteta in that specific area of the pitch are severely limited. This is not a depth crisis in a general sense. It is a very specific structural problem that any opponent's coaching staff will already be analysing carefully. The situation with Merino is slightly more positive than it was. He is back on grass, but the careful management of his rehabilitation suggests Arsenal will not take any risks that could turn a partial recovery into a full setback. The Hand of Arsenal general update, a broader update covering several Arsenal-related topics, includes the following confirmed and reported details. David Raya has 2 years remaining on his current contract, with a 1-year optional extension also in place. A pay rise was agreed last summer. All parties are described as relaxed about his long-term future. Mikel Merino has begun sprint and conditioning work on grass. The club are being cautious and he must hit specific rehabilitation milestones before returning to ball work. Progress is described as positive. Jurrien Timber has not been ruled out of a return. He experienced setbacks during March and April with groin discomfort. He was recently seen accompanying the coaching staff in pre-match training drills on the pitch. This is described as a significant sign of his role within the squad's leadership group. The club are pushing to improve the general health and fitness of the squad as a broader initiative. The Hayland Academy overhaul is being overseen by Andrea Berta and Maurizio Micheli, with the aim of better connecting academy development to the first team and increasing player trading through loans and sales. My analysis: the detail about Timber being present on the pitch for pre-match training drills is genuinely significant. A player who is completely ruled out does not participate in pitch-based activities. His presence in that environment, combined with the statement that he has not been ruled out, suggests there is still a realistic possibility of him making a late return. Whether that comes in time for May 30th remains to be seen, but at least the door has not been closed. The Raya contract situation is clean and uncomplicated. 2 years plus an option with a pay rise already agreed. There is no distraction there, which is exactly what you want when your goalkeeper is performing at the level he is. The Hayland Academy overhaul is something that will not generate immediate headlines but could have significant long-term value for the club. Connecting academy output to first-team needs and building a pipeline for loan and sales activity is exactly the kind of structural work that distinguishes elite clubs from the rest over a 10 to 15-year period. A Merino grass training confirmed. Further confirmation that Mikel Merino has returned to outdoor training, with reports indicating he has been doing sprint and conditioning work on grass. Arsenal are described as taking a careful approach. He still needs to hit key rehabilitation targets before returning to ball work. Progress is described as positive so far. My analysis: this update aligns with what was reported in the broader club update. The key phrase here is careful approach. Arsenal are not rushing Merino. They understand that pushing him back into full training before he is ready could cause a setback that costs them far more than the games he misses during rehabilitation. The fact that he is on grass and doing conditioning work is the first meaningful step. Ball work comes next, and then integration into squad training. There are still several stages between where he is now and where he needs to be to feature on May 30th. Left wing overhaul planned. Arsenal are planning changes on the left wing this summer. One or both of Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard could potentially be leaving the club. The club want to bring in a new left winger, but options are described as difficult. Anthony Gordon from Newcastle United is admired. Havertz from Paris Saint-Germain is described as the dream target, but hard to get. Rodrigo is seen as too expensive. My analysis: this is a story that deserves careful reading. The fact that both Martinelli and Trossard are listed as potentially leaving suggests the club is considering a significant shift in how the left side of the attack is structured. These are not fringe players. They have both contributed meaningfully this season. So if Arsenal are genuinely planning to move them on, it signals that the recruitment team has identified a clear upgrade profile. The targets listed reflect very different levels of realism. Gordon is described as admired, which is measured language suggesting genuine interest without a definitive approach. Kvaratskhelia is the dream, which means he is the ideal profile but presents serious obstacles given his situation at Paris Saint-Germain. Rodrigo being dismissed as too expensive is a straightforward financial assessment. This is a summer project. It will not be resolved quickly or cheaply, but the direction of travel is clear. Arsenal want to evolve the left side of their attack, and they are prepared to make significant decisions to do it. And Szczesny's comment about Raya Barcelona goalkeeper Wojciech Szczesny made a light-hearted comment during a post-match interview. He said that while everyone else was preparing for El Clasico, he personally was checking whether there had been a foul on David Raya. My analysis, this is brief but revealing in its own way. The incident involving David Raya has clearly reached beyond the Arsenal conversation and entered the wider European football discourse. Szczesny's comment is playful, but it tells you that the situation surrounding Raya and the foul question was significant enough to register at a European level. It also subtly keeps the spotlight on the question of whether Arsenal's goalkeeper was treated fairly in that incident. I will leave the full debate there for another video, but the fact that a goalkeeper playing in La Liga is referencing it publicly is worth noting. Barcelona and Martinelli. Barcelona have reportedly renewed their efforts to sign Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal this summer. The Catalan club view the Brazilian as an attractive option to add pace and energy to their left-sided attack for the coming season. The source for this report is Fichajes. My analysis, this needs to be flagged clearly as a rumour. The source here is Fichajes, and while the outlet does break transfer stories, this is speculation at this stage rather than confirmed interest. That said, it does align with what we already know, which is that Martinelli's future at Arsenal is described as uncertain and that the club is considering changes on the left wing this summer. If Barcelona are genuinely interested, the dynamic becomes complicated. Arsenal would not want to strengthen a direct rival by selling a player in his prime years. But if the club has already decided to reshape that position, the identity of the buyer becomes secondary to getting the right deal. This one will develop over the coming months. File it under genuine uncertainty rather than confirmed movement. Wayne Rooney, on potential Arsenal celebrations, Wayne Rooney commented on what London could look like if Arsenal win the Premier League. His words were that he cannot even imagine it. He added that if Arsenal also add the Champions League, the celebrations would be unbelievable. He described the atmosphere as potentially chaos in the best possible way. My analysis, Rooney's comments reflect the scale of what Arsenal are chasing. This is a man who experienced winning at the very top of English football many times over. When he says he cannot imagine the scale of the celebration, that is not empty flattery. It is a genuine recognition of the historical weight of what Arsenal are trying to achieve. The club has not won the Premier League title since 2004. A Champions League has never been won in the club's history. The double that Rooney is imagining would not just be a trophy celebration, it would be a complete redefining of this generation of Arsenal players and this managerial era. That is the prize on the table right now. Martin Keown responds to Peter Schmeichel. Martin Keown responded directly and firmly to Peter Schmeichel's comments about West Ham's disallowed goal. Cologne A's argument was that Schmeichel's outrage is difficult to take seriously, given that as a goalkeeper himself, he would have been furious if he had been subjected to the same treatment. Cologne's point was that there were 3 clear fouls on the Arsenal goalkeeper in that situation. He also noted that Arsenal have adapted their set-piece approach this season, moving towards shorter corners rather than delivering the ball into the box, specifically because of the physical treatment their players have been receiving in those situations. My analysis, this is a debate that touches on something deeper than one disallowed goal. The pattern Cologne identifies, where Arsenal players are consistently wrestled and held at set pieces without adequate protection from officials, is something that has frustrated the club throughout this season. The tactical adaptation he describes, moving to short corners to avoid that physical battle, is a creative response to a refereeing environment that has not always protected them in those situations. Keown's challenge to Schmeichel's objectivity is sharp and pointed. Schmeichel has connections to both Manchester City and Manchester United, which are the current and former rivals of Arsenal. Keown is making the argument that those connections colour the reaction. Whether you agree or not, the football argument beneath it, that Arsenal were consistently fouled in that West Ham situation, is one that deserves serious consideration. Pre-season planning. Arsenal's pre-season plans are still being shaped. The only confirmed friendly so far is against Real Betis in Dublin on August 5th. A potential trip to Spain is also being considered before that game. Final decisions on the rest of the pre-season schedule are being delayed because the title race is still open and the outcome will affect planning. If Arsenal win the Premier League, they could be involved in the Community Shield at Cardiff on August 16th, which would further influence how the rest of pre-season is structured. My analysis: the fact that pre-season is not yet fully planned is not a sign of disorganisation. It is the opposite. It is a sign that the club is managing its priorities in the right order. They are not thinking about August while May is still in front of them. The Betis friendly is a placeholder, a confirmed commitment that gives the squad a structure to return to after the summer. The rest will be built around whatever happens in the next 3 weeks. The Community Shield possibility is also worth noting. Qualification for that fixture is dependent on winning the league. The fact that it is being factored into planning discussions tells you the club is taking their chances in the title race seriously and preparing for that outcome. Timber and White injury crisis. The situation at right back is now one of the most urgent problems facing this club going into the final weeks of the season. Thorn's Ben White, the first-choice right-back, suffered a suspected knee ligament injury during the West Ham match. He left the stadium in a knee brace. Arteta's response was clear, saying it does not look good at all. The severity of the injury is still being assessed. Arsenal have 2 Premier League fixtures remaining against Burnley and Crystal Palace, and then the Champions League final on May 30th. White's availability for any of those games is currently uncertain. Meanwhile, Jurrien Timber, the natural backup in that position and an outstanding performer before his injury, has not played since March 14th due to a groin complaint. His recovery has taken longer than expected by his own admission and by Arteta's. There have been genuine fears that Timber would not play again this season. His situation also has World Cup implications, with the tournament in North America approaching. Missing the Champions League final through injury could also put his fitness for that competition at risk. Timber is hoping to push into training this week and assess whether he can step up his workload toward a potential return for the final. But previous attempts to return have not gone as planned, and there is no guarantee this week will be different. Arteta has acknowledged publicly that both Timber and Mikel Merino face a genuine battle to prove their fitness before the final. Surgery remains a possibility for Timber if this push does not work. In the same West Ham match, Ricardo Calafiori was also withdrawn at half-time with an injury. Arsenal hopeful his is not serious. My analysis: the cumulative picture here is deeply concerning for a club trying to win 2 trophies in 3 weeks. At right back specifically, the situation is as difficult as it could be. White is potentially seriously injured, Timber is in a race against time, and the opponent waiting in the Champions League final is Paris Saint-Germain, a team that includes Kvaratskhelia, described as one of the best players in the world, operating in an area of the pitch that will directly challenge whoever Arsenal put at right back. If neither White nor Timber is available for May 30th, Arteta will need to find a creative solution: who plays there, how the system is adapted to compensate, and how Arsenal manage the defensive threat that Kvaratskhelia and the rest of the PSG attack will pose. These are the questions that will define the final. The injury situation is a reality. The challenge now is managing it as intelligently as possible and giving every available player every chance to be ready. The Anthony Gordon transfer story. Anthony Gordon's situation at Newcastle United has become one of the most discussed transfer stories surrounding Arsenal this summer. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe was recently questioned about Gordon after the winger was left as an unused substitute during a 1-1 draw at Nottingham Forest. Howe acknowledged that Gordon has returned from injury and is training well, but his comments suggested something more significant. He said the team had performed well in the winger's absence, that they went with a more defensive structure with Joelinton on the wide left, and that he is looking at the future. That phrase, looking at the future, is the most important part of that statement. It is not confirmation that Gordon is leaving, but it is language that leaves the door open. And in football, when a manager uses that kind of language about a player, in Gordon's situation, it carries meaning. The interest from Arsenal is described as genuine. The possibility is that the club strengthens the left side of their attack this summer, despite the already significant investment in Victor Gyökeres and Noni Madueke earlier in the season. Gyökeres took time to find his form, but has now scored 21 goals in all competitions. Madueke has managed 7. The forward line has not functioned at the level that was hoped, and that is part of the reason new additions are being considered. Bayern Munich have also been linked with Gordon, which is relevant because it tells you the level of competition Arsenal would face in any move. Newcastle's position is firm. Gordon is under contract until 2030. There is also a 15% sell-on clause owed to Everton, meaning Newcastle will seek full market value to protect their own financial position. Gordon himself has previously played down any transfer talk, saying in his own words that he had not heard anything and that clubs pick names out of a hat. Liverpool also retain an interest from a move that did not happen in 2024. My analysis: the Gordon situation is genuinely complex. It is a rumour at this stage, not a confirmed transfer, but the number of factors aligning makes it worth taking seriously. Newcastle's squad cost ratio challenges mean they may need to generate funds this summer. Gordon's reduced role in recent weeks, whether through injury or selection, has raised questions. Power's language in that press conference was careful but telling. For Arsenal, Gordon would offer pace, directness and Premier League experience. He is a proven performer in this league and at a relatively young age for a player with his experience. But the price will be significant, and the competition from other major clubs means Arsenal cannot assume this one is straightforward. The situation is developing. It will not be resolved until the summer window opens properly, but it is a story worth watching closely. What today's coverage makes clear is that Arsenal are at an absolutely pivotal moment. 3 potential trophies are still within reach. The Premier League title, the Champions League and potentially the Community Shield, all of them are live possibilities right now. But the injury situation is real. The squad depth is being tested and the decisions being made in the next 2 weeks on the pitch, in the medical room and in the boardroom will shape the outcome of this entire era. Arteta closing in on a 10-year commitment to this club is the foundation beneath all of it. The data showing Raya among the greatest goalkeeping performers in league history tells you the defensive core is elite. The transfer planning for the left wing tells you the club is already thinking about how to be even better next season. This is a club in motion, not panicking, not scrambling, moving with purpose, even in the face of serious challenges. I am Melissa, and this has been Melissa Arsenal Analyst. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe, share this video and leave a comment below telling me what you think about Arsenal's chances on May 30th. I read every comment and I will see you in the next one. Come on, Arsenal.